Okay.
Lead us off, sir.
Okay.
Welcome back to
another.
Welcome back to another.
Welcome back to another. A lot of feedback coming. Welcome back to another episode of Truth Inside. This episode is going to primarily be about 5G and what its effects will have on us as it's being implemented across the United States. Again, with me is my great partner, Marcus Baca. I'm Jacob Franklin, and
Hey, Michael. You mean?
Michael, sorry. And this is Truth Inside. Let's get started.
Absolutely. Welcome, everyone. Hope everyone had a great day. We're going to start learning about this to see where our president and basically the White House stands on this issue. The president said not too long ago in the Roosevelt Room that I want to thank you all for being here to discuss a critical issue for our country's future, winning the race to be the world's leading provider of 5G cellular communication networks. It's all about 5G now. We were at 4G and everyone was saying we have to get 4G. And then they said before that we have to get 3G. And now we have to get 5G. And 5G is a big deal. Later on, he goes ahead and discusses secure 5G networks will absolutely be a vital link to America's prosperity and national security in the 21st century. 5G will be as much as 100 times faster than the current 4G cellular networks. It will transform the way our citizens work, learn, communicate, and travel. Oh yeah, it will definitely transform all of those. It will make American farms more productive, American manufacturing more competitive, and American healthcare better and more accessible. As that is what is being touted by the White House. If anyone wants to go and continue to read the rest of this article, the race that he's specifically talking about that we have to win is with other countries. And one of the sales pitches that they're giving off this is that we have to beat China so we can remain ahead in the communications realm as the most advanced.
Yes. I have a question that popped out immediately. How is 5G going to help farmers? Seems like we don't really need technology to farm too much besides, tractors. I mean, I understand that stuff, but I don't know why I need my phone to work faster while I'm out on a farm.
I absolutely agree, especially once we get into the technicalities dealing with the 5G small cell towers, because we will see that they have to be implemented every 100 to 300 meters. So how many of these, if you have, a 1,000-acre, 2,000-acre farm, are you going to have on just to get that running? And then we'll learn about the dangers of this. Like I said, this is ways that they're trying to promote the idea as being beneficial. And then in other ones, because most people check what the White House does, Jacob, we switch over to the PDF that I sent you from the Department of Defense.
Yes.
It's a DIB 5G study. And let's go to Chapter 3, because Chapter 3 has something really significant I want to read.
Let me find Chapter 3.
Roughly page 23.
Chapter 2, getting through that. Chapter 3.
And I definitely recommend, for those viewing, go ahead and search through this Department of Defense scenario, and they'll tell you a lot about how 5G works, how it operates on on high bandwidth, the spectrum specifically. And it says 5G, the impact on the DoD, or the Department of Defense, for Chapter 3. It says, while much of the discussion around 5G revolves around the commercial sector as the driving force behind its rollout, as we saw in the White House press, 5G ecosystems of technology can equally revolutionize Department of Defense operations, networks, and information processes. Department of Defense must be able to communicate, engage, and operate faster to keep up with the changing environment. 5G will enable this new concept of operations, allowing larger volumes of data to be shared in close to real time across geographically dispersed systems. Currently, data sharing at this scale cannot be completed effectively with legacy communication networks. Existing networks will benefit by leveraging lower latency and higher capacity data transfer capability. But 5G's true potential will be in its impact on the battle network of the future. That network will increasingly include a large number of cheaper, more connected, and more resilient systems that function in a deadly evolving battlefield. False alarms, guys. It's okay. Just cheers. Now, this next paragraph is very, very significant. 5G has the capability to combine Department of Defense current fragmented networks into a single network to promote improved situational awareness and decision making. The expansion reach will enable new technologies like hypersonic weapons and hypersonic defenses to be deployed, and has the potential to strengthen existing missions like nuclear C3. At an enterprise level, 5G can vastly improve day-to-day tasks such as logistics and maintenance, elevating the efficiency and speed of work across the Department of Defense. Now, as we see, they have a lot of these elongated words and terms, and then they put in one small sentence. It will expand the reach for new technologies like hypersonic weapons and hypersonic defenses. And that's one of the real things where we'll start seeing some of the negative effects, where it's going to get rather scary, because this 5G network, as we saw in that one sentence there, actually operates in the same frequency as military frequency weapons, or also known as direct energy weapons.
Right.
You have any other questions?
Not at this time for me. So it's always been this battle, like, well, we can't let China lead us in it, so we got to get it.
Right, and it's definitely a way to start an arms race,
Right. It's almost laughable how we always, the threat of China is always used throughout, especially now, our political and decision making. It seems that's what they're saying, that we're worried about, because I read the last paragraph in this that you were underneath what you were reading before, and it's all about China leads the field in 5G infrastructure right now and systems, and how
true.
this is a big threat.
Right, and if you scroll down to the security challenges in 5G, you'll see where it says if China becomes the global leader, it's in the third paragraph,
yep,
supplying 5G infrastructure from the subcomponent level to the integrated systems level. For even if the United States limits sales of Chinese products into the United States, the Department of Defense will still have to operate on 4 networks overseas that will likely be built with a Chinese supply chain. And what they're saying is the threat to that is that if China goes ahead and gets the global market, or is a leader in the global market, they will be able to put back doors in, and any Chinese products they'll basically be able to use for espionage, is what some of this in-depth of this report says.
Wow.
But the most significant thing that I got out of it is the military-grade weapons that operate on the same frequency. And if you go put up this will lead us to what's known as the active denial system. It is a current weapon that our U.S. military has. And once we watch this video, we'll see that it seems to be aimed at more at the public sector than it will be against other militaries. So, Jake, you want to bring up that video, and we can just kind of watch it and pause it and discuss it where we need to.
Okay, I'm going to start it up.
Technology and future solid-state active denial technology system will produce a focused beam of directed energy to provide our troops a non-lethal option to stop, deter, and turn back.
Just a side note, I can't really see it from my end, so I've watched it already, so if you want to pause it and ask questions, that's on you.
To protect the innocent, minimize fatalities, and limit collateral damage across the range of military operations. Active denial technology uses radio frequency millimeter waves at a frequency of 95 gigahertz. Traveling at the speed of light, the millimeter wave directed energy engages the subject, penetrating the skin to a depth of only about 1/64th of an inch. The beam produces an intolerable heating sensation, compelling the targeted individual to instinctively move. For the military, active denial technology can be used for both force application and force protection missions. Applications include crowd control, perimeter security.
Real quick, I like how they use, just people in normal clothes to act like they're protesting of some sort, and then they're shooting them with this.
Exactly. As you watch the video, that's what I was saying. This weapon seems to be aimed more at, dispersing, non-military personnel than it does seem military personnel.
Right. I mean, because why use a non-deadly force weapon against a guy with a gun when you could use this on peaceful protesters that are using their right of freedom of speech.
It's true. It's true. I mean, the video will you'll see it. It'll hint at some military applications, but they're kind of questionable still. And a lot of people are still dealing with civilian clothes, even when they get to the military aspects.
Right. Okay, going forward in the video now.
Patrol and convoy protection, and other defensive and offensive operations from both fixed site or mobile platforms. While the active denial system advanced concept technology demonstration succeeded in demonstrating a large-scale version of active denial technology, a smaller scale, more mobile version is being developed by the U.S. Army and the DoD's non-lethal weapons program, utilizing solid-state technology. This system will demonstrate and prove out the critical technologies for a follow-on tactical system, which will be an adjunct system that can be installed on a range of tactical or support vehicles. It will have an azimuth drive for full 360-degree coverage, E-steering in azimuth for fine steering control, and full E-steering in elevation. With an invisible beam, speed of light targeting, and silent.
Just then, they had the smaller mobile units of this weapon going through a city. That's in a little cartoon-like thing they made. I mean, and I can't stand the music in this because it's like building it up like this is some badass weaponry that we're going to get, and we should all be pumped about it. And the voice that we have listening here, which sounds robotic to me, but is all, you know, trying to talk. It just the influx in his voice is trying to talk this up as something that we should be excited about. Like, look what our military does. I'm waiting for like the "We Want You" sign to come up, and when you sign up for the military now and operate these weapons as we terrorize our own citizens.
Right? Because that definitely is what it looks like. I mean, when I was watching this video, I was like, "Come on, man! At least put people in military uniforms, you know?"
Exactly. It's just the blatant slap in our face that we should be excited to use this in our own country, on our own lands against us, is absolutely ridiculous. But I guess
we'll learn about how that mindset even came into our country once we discuss Project Paperclip.
Right. I guess we'll keep going. This video is hurting me just to watch. I can't stand it all. But we'll keep going.
Yeah, keep going. It's only like, what, 6 minutes?
It can be used in a wide range of operations, such as enhanced combat mobility in dense urban areas, where it quickly and safely moves civilians obstructing
two people just
mobility.
Talking in the middle of the road. Got to get them out of the way.
Safely deter unarmed but suspicious civilians observing U.S. forces. At entry control points, it provides an additional layer of response for dealing with potentially threatening targets and potential crowd violence. It can be quickly de-escalated by targeting the leader, or if necessary, by panning across the entire crowd, while armed individuals mixed in a crowd can be engaged without risk to surrounding civilians. Since the beam can penetrate window glass, it can also be used for non-lethal engagement of suspicious vehicles potentially threatening U.S. forces. The SS-80T will be a lightweight, non-kinetic, non-lethal anti-personnel system, providing an alternative to lethal force.
Hi, I'm Lance Corporal Clayton Filipovich from the Corps Report, and I'm here with the gear. Now we're at Joint Base Langley, Eustis, and we're about to figure out what it takes to get toasted like a bagel. But first, let's learn a little bit more about the active denial system. So right behind me is the ADS system, and what we're going to do is we're going to go on the ship and find out what really makes it bring the heat.
Is this an infomercial trying to sell me something?
Yeah, in a sense, it kind of is. It's kind of saying, hey, we have these weapons and they're cool,
almost like my living
this is what
quarters
they can do.
Just kidding. But for real, this is very, very cramped. So the guy's in here, he's controlling the monitors. It's got it pinpointed all the way down to small little crosshairs, and it's really impressive. probably the coolest thing about this little getup is the Atari-like joystick that they use to control the system. And I'm pretty sure I'd be qualified to operate this system because I'm pretty good at Call of Duty. So you've got the 2 monitors right here. You could probably play split screen. I don't know. We'll have to ask about that. It's very cramped, and I'm a little claustrophobic, so I am going to go ahead and leave this to professionals and get out. I'm ready, sir. Wow. Wow. So, sir, I've seen this operated on one person, but how does it measure up against a crowd of people?
You can use it in a crowd to move a crowd from one area to the other. That's the beauty of the system. You can actually sweep from left to right, start on one end, and you can get them in the direction that you want to go. So it's very useful to the commander, moving people in a specific direction.
So it's a very effective weapon that has a very broad range of things they can do, and at the same time, it's non-lethal. It's not going to kill
Absolutely.
you. So for the people that think, oh, I'm going to be roasted alive, as soon as you get out of the heat, your skin's fine, you feel normal. And
That's correct.
I really like that
All
about
right.
the system.
Pause it there, sir.
Yeah.
I just want to point out the article where I found this at. They actually go ahead and will let you know there is no research that is done on saying what the effects will be. But there is an Israeli group, which we'll get into after the video, which that'll be the perfect transition. Some Israeli scientists where they talk about our certain receptors. I believe it was called the NASA receptor. And it damages that, and plus a whole host of other issues. But like I said, we got to show both sides. So we're going to show those that are promoted it, and then we're going to show the scientists on the other sides afterwards.
Okay. I had to point out that it was perfect time that you said to pause it because he just stated that it's got such a wide range of use, and that so people don't have to be scared. It's non-lethal. So as long as you listen, you'll get out of the pain. You know, as long as you do what we say, you'll be fine.
Exactly, and that's what that kind of weapon reminds me of. It's more to keep the citizens in line than it is to protect. Because, I mean, in a country where we're supposed to have free speech, if a group of people get together and they're non-violently protesting, why would you have to disrupt them?
Right.
Especially if they were, in dissent of, the president or the White House or those in Congress, if they had a different viewpoint. Our Constitution gives us the right to express that viewpoint. And as long as you're doing it non-violently, you shouldn't have to worry about a system like this coming in. But as we saw in the beginning, there's just people there protesting without any weapons, and they're getting shot at in the video.
Yes, and they're just keep speaking about that point that it's non-lethal, that we can and that it can pan across entire groups and move them exactly where they want them to go. And I get the sense that the guy that's running this little show, when we're talking to the Marine here, he doesn't seem to actually be a Marine. It looks like he's just got a little get up on. He's got no patches or anything like that, and
He looks more like a gamer.
Yeah, he's not wearing a hat outside, which I'm not very familiar, but I don't feel like you could be standing in front of a superior. We'd have to, have some military people come in and correct me and tell me what this is. It just seems weird to me because I've always.
I'm sure they'll correct you in the comments.
I've always seen that a military man, he takes off his hat when he goes indoors and he puts his hat back on. If you're in full uniform, you're in full uniform. You can't half-ass your uniform, basically. That's just my understanding. But we've only got about a minute left, and we'll get through this and move on to the next thing.
Indeed. We'll go to the Israeli one after this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some people think that the Marine Corps is all about dropping bodies, but that's just not true. In fact, the Commandant of the Marine Corps, General James Amos, is the Department of Defense's executive agent for non-lethal weapons. Non-lethal weapons are the future of keeping our service members safe. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next installment of With the Gear.
That seems to be the end. It was way less than a minute. Just a couple.
All right.
just demonstrating it being used on a boat.
Yes, and there might be the direct energy weapon to take out missiles as well.
All right, that's the end of that.
So there's definitely weapon capabilities that operate on the 5G bandwidth. That's the primary purpose of explaining that video. And like I said, we've seen a whole bunch of stuff relating to commercial uses and applications like that. And then they slip in one line where it's like, oh yeah, we have hypersonic weapons and hypersonic defenses as well.
Yes, and I kind of scrolled down just to see. I was quite interested in what people were saying about this video, and a lot of people, one guy said about 3 months ago, just a matter of time before they turn those waves on the American public. I find this worrying. That gives me hope that, not everyone's just like, this is a really cool weapon. I can't wait to sign up and use it. So
there are a fairly amount of awakened people here. Before we switch to the Israeli thing, I just want to go over the FCC real quick. It'll just be a moment.
Okay, I'm on there.
The FCC page, I'm just going to read the first paragraph. It just says, under Chairman Pai, the FCC is pursuing a comprehensive strategy to facilitate America's superiority in 5G technology, the 5G Fast Plan. The chairman's strategy includes 3 components: pushing more spectrum into the market. That was with when we saw with the WhiteHouse.gov. They're opening more high-band spectrum is what they're shooting for. Updating infrastructure policy specifically deals with, typically with towers today, you have to have certain regulations. And because these things don't stand 200-300 foot and they're going to be a lot closer together, they're trying to fast push it out, which on the infrastructure policy, it says on their first marker, speeding up federal review of small cells. They're just basically trying to get it out without testing, which we will see in our next article. And then modernizing outdated regulations. And that's just basically updating the thing to get these out as fast as possible without any studies that are being done.
Right.
The next article, which where I saw that video that we just watched, is from scientists for WiredTech.com. The article is called 5G will use the same frequencies as pain-inflicting military weapons.
I've got, what is the site?
It is scientists for WiredTech.com.
Okay, I may not have that link pulled up. Give me just a moment to see if I can't find it in here. I thought I had them all up, but...
It's alright, no problem.
Could you actually send that one my way?
I thought I did. If not, I will resend it right now.
Thank you.
And copy that beast over here. And it is sent on your Discord, sir.
Perfect. There we go. Got it pulled up now.
Alright. So, I love it. What do the installation of extreme density 4G and 5G close proximity microwave radiation antennas on light poles, utility poles, and other street furniture in the public right-of-way in your communities, and a radio frequency electromagnetic microwave radiation weapon developed by the military have in common? The Department of Defense has developed a RF EMR crowd control weapon called the Active Denial System. The ADS works by firing a high-powered beam of 95 gigahertz waves at people. This is a millimeter wavelength weapon, similar to millimeter waves being used for new 5G installations. They kind of go ahead and talk about the frequencies after that. There's several of them. If anyone wants to get into the technicalities, they are right there.
Okay.
It says anyone caught in the RF EMR beam will feel like their skin is intensely burning. The burning sensation stops once the target leaves the beam. This weapon operates on 95 gigahertz waves, and 5G will operate on the very similar frequencies. And that is one of the hidden dangers that people are wondering about with this technology. And let's see, let's scroll down here a little bit. You'll see the video. And then right after the video is some very important research from a team of Israeli physicists. They have found that there are new problems to consider with exposure to millimeter waves. When the wavelength of the energy approaches the dimension of our biological structure, i.e. our skin and sweat ducts, the previous assumptions about the safety of RF EMR exposure are no longer valid. The research shows that with millimeter waves, our sweat ducts actually act like little antennas, which means we would absorb more of this energy into our body. Other research has demonstrated that short-term exposure to low-intensity millimeter waves affect human cell membranes and could even result in the proliferation of multi-drug resistant bacteria.
Wow.
So, we have this video produced by our U.S. military, and then we have actual scientific literature that says it actually is more dangerous than what is being told to us. Military.
Right.
You have any questions, sir?
Not at this time for me. I'm just kind of set back, blown away by the audacity to just install weapons all over the place for us to be turned on at any moment.
All right. Well, we'll go on to where it says Dr. Yale Stein, MD, who wrote a letter to the Federal Communication Commissions about 5G spectrum frontiers. He says the use of sub-terahertz millimeter wave communication technology, cell phones, Wi-Fi, network transmission antennas, could cause humans to feel physical pain via the nociceptors. That's what I was doing what I can to explain earlier.
I actually have an experience with 5G. My first time ever experiencing 5G, I went to St. Louis a couple months back. I talked about it, I think, in the last podcast as well, but it's a good time to bring it back up. As soon as I hit 5G, without knowing it, I got so sick. The entire time before that, not sick. It wasn't something I ate. It was just sudden sickness, overwhelming. Just like I was dizzy. I felt like it was kind of like a seasickness, almost. And I immediately threw up. And I kept throwing up, and I never got unsick. I started taking, Tums or something to try to relax the stomach, sucking on some mints, and I just felt sick the entire time.
Very, very understandable. There are numerous reports out there where these have been installed in schools or by fire departments, and the people that they're getting installed by are actually going into their community and complaining. And luckily, there are several communities that have taken a stance and said, we are banning these. We don't want them in our community because of the destructive capabilities that they are feeling. And we'll learn more about this as we go into some of the harms that are related to the 5G wavelengths.
Right.
The next one is from Deborah Lee Davis, the founding director of the Board of Environmental Studies and Toxicology of the United States National Research Council, the National Academy of Sciences, founding director of the Center for Environmental Oncology, University of Pittsburgh Cancer Institute, states, I don't want to put my grandchildren in harm's way. We now know that the skin, our largest organ, does respond to 5G millimeter waves, and in fact, our sweat ducts, they can act as antennas that can receive signals. 5G has not been tested for safety. The fact that it can interact with our sweat ducts may have much more profound meaning to our overall health and well-being. The idea that we're going to saturate this country with a network that has never been tested is appalling. I'm joining with many other scientists from around the world now to ring the alarms. Now, we must evaluate these things before we roll out the technology, no matter how attractive it is for us to have faster downloads for video games, pornography, or virtual reality. The question we have to ask ourselves, is it worth endangering the health of our population?
Absolutely not.
Right, and like I said, these are people who have well more of an understanding in this field than we do. They've actually gone out and done the studies and have had seen the results, and they're like, no, this is actually really, really bad stuff that is going to be put out.
To think that the people that are the few that are actually for this, that their actual mindset is to be able to download video games faster or pornography. It's absurd that we would just put the risk of actual illness just for a little bit faster, because I was up there under 5G, my phone did turn on to 5G. I kept it away from me as much as possible, but when I did load, it did load a little bit faster, but not that noticeable versus the 4G that we already have installed affecting us daily.
It's true. I've heard some similar things from other people who've actually been on 5G, where they say it's not really too insanely fast compared to 4G, and then that's why there's a lot of theories that are coming up that are saying this is more for a military weapon to weaponize the country than it is to help out our citizens.
Right. I mean, at a certain time, there's just the speed can't be noticed. I mean, at least by us, you just can't. We already load. I load stuff on my phone instantaneously. It pops up on the screen in less than a second, and I'm under 4G. And so what's the difference when I go to 5G and it pops up in less than a second? It's nothing to me. It's so yes, I do believe that the tech guys that are pro 5G are selling it as you can load anything instantaneously, and stuff like that. But the true meaning, as we can clearly see, is a weapon that can be used at any time to shut down entire cities that have it installed.
All right. We're just starting the top of it. There's so much more possibilities, weapon possibilities with this, as well as health effects. We'll continue on from the scientists for Wired Tech. Later on, they say there are now many thousands of peer-reviewed medical and epidemiological studies that illustrate or correlate adverse biological effects with use of mobile phone technology or Wi-Fi. Using frequencies higher than 5 gigahertz and up to 100 gigahertz will compress the time frame in which cancers and other biological effects show themselves within society. It is clear that the pulse nature of these high-frequency, high-signal intensity signals do not harbor good news for living organisms, causing damage, neurological problems, heart problems, and eventually cancer, which we've definitely seen as more and more technology is coming up. You see children at a very young age getting cancer, whereas those that lived through the 90s and 80s, I mean, that wasn't really that heard of on such a young. It was more of an elder generation cancer was, and now it's practically at all age levels.
Right. And I was thinking about it when they talked about all living organisms. We're not even considering the effects on our food. Livestock, plants, the destruction of our water. I mean, changing everything about us. We'd basically be digesting this as much as we are feeling it just hitting us, and the effects are just astronomical.
Yeah, and they just keep going. From the people who have actually taken the time to do the studies, it's worth noting their works, especially for PhD or doctoral level education individuals and groups.
Right.
Let's go from here. Let's bring up the health impact news, that picture I sent you, so we can see some other symptoms of radio wave sickness. Okay. And I love the source because this is from the United States Naval Medical Research Institute. So just keep in mind, we just had this video that says, it's not going to do any harm for you. It's a non-lethal weapon. But let's see what the Navy says about the same frequencies. For the brain, it can cause headaches, dizziness, nausea, difficulty concentrating, depression, anxiety, memory loss, insomnia, fatigue, tremors, muscle spasms, tingling, altered reflexes, muscles, and joint pain. For the eyes, it can cause pressure behind the eyes. It can cause... Is that deteriorating?
Yeah.
I can't tell. It's small on my... It's small. It looks like deteriorating
visions.
And cataracts for the heart. It can cause palpitations. What is that? Arrhythmia?
Arrhythmia, chest pain or pressure, high blood pressure.
And then for the respiratory system, it is known to cause sinusitis, bronchitis, asthma, and pneumonia. And then for the skin, it's skin rash, itching, burning, and facial flushing, and other things related to it, digestive problems, abdominal pain, enlarged thyroid, testicular ovarian pain, dehydration, immune abnormalities, altered sugar metabolisms, redistribution of metals within the body, and hair loss.
Jeez.
So here, once I think the most significant thing about this is we have, an article or a video put out by the United States Marines showing their active denial system, saying it's non-lethal, it's safe, as long as you're not in it, you're good to go. And then an article from the United States Navy Medical Research from the 70s says completely otherwise and lists a long list of, what do we have there? 30, 40 different effects, probably? Probably close to 30.
Almost as much as the test pills that we see on commercials. No, but
right?
there is it's an insane amount of effects just for a unnoticeable amount of speed. So we hear.
Oh, I love this. On the article that I sent it from the Health Impact News, it says it is estimated that 80% of modern chronic illnesses are caused by or influenced by long-term exposure to sources of electromagnetic radiation such as cell phones, cell towers, Wi-Fi routers, baby monitors, cordless phone base stations, Bluetooth devices, smart meters, and dozens of other wireless devices that are used every day by Americans. Just think about that. 80% of modern chronic illnesses are caused by just putting yourself into these frequencies.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not a little number. It's not like 0.01% of the population or anything like that.
Exactly. And I haven't found any confirmation on this, but I'd heard some of the cities that had this installed, basically the test group cities, fell very ill. Actually got very sick, and a lot of cancer came out of it, and they shut down the cities. I'd have to go search for,
and you can find them. They're very easy to find. Because, like I said, there's multiple stories of where these have been put up, and people, you can definitely find stuff on schools. Like if you type in like 5G's effects on school or on 5G school children, you can definitely find some, especially out in the California way. There's several out there. Like I said, they've already banned them. And it's very interesting. It's nice to see that some communities are fighting back.
I searched over here on off screen, and it popped up 5 ways 5G will make classrooms smarter, and this is how they're trying to sell it. Immersive lessons.
So they're trying to sell through education for faster communications, and but like I said, they very sneakily will sneak in this. We got weapons too that we have on the same frequency.
Right. It says that it'll save teachers time. Immersive lessons with augmented reality and virtual reality is #1 on the list here. Download videos in seconds. We already do that. Greater assistance for students with special needs. I don't know. I'm just going to have to pull it out and see why do they think that that's going to help.
This is where you're getting with implanting chips into the brain and being able to use this 5G wavelengths. They say to like maybe regulate your blood flow or your neurocortex and things of that nature.
Right.
And it's also on the other side on what some theorists are saying is that they can also use that to do mind control. And once we start our mind control segment, we'll definitely see the relations there.
It says right here that 5G will enable robots to be full-time assistants and support teachers by responding immediately to help with learning exercises. So this is just more of the push for the more of the cyborg reality, where they merge humans with technology. And we are already there. Your phone is an extension of yourself already. But we're
for
getting,
a lot of people.
And it's slowly getting even more integrated with the body. Instead of just being a phone that you can set down, turn off. Something that I wanted to talk about later is Elon Musk's new computer system integral interface into the brain. We're just getting closer and closer to them pushing something that would have us shut down when they want us to. They wouldn't have to propaganda mind control if we just install a computer chip in our brain. So.
I hear you, sir. I hear you. And just to continue on some of the health risk, on the radiation one from Dr. Carpenter, he basically talks about this is particularly urgent because current plans to place small 5G cell towers about every 300 meters in every street across the country. These 5G small cell antennas will result in continuous exposure to everyone living nearby and everyone walking down the street. The increased exposures will increase the risk of cancer and other diseases such as electro-hypersensitivity, said Dr. Carpenter. And that's from the radiation health risk one. I'm not going to go too much in that one because that has a lot of duplicated information.
I will be posting all links under the video once the live stream is over, so you can check our work, find your own links, send them to us. If you get some new information, please send it to us. You can join the Discord, which I will share as well, and send us links, send us things. If you find something that we missed out on, send it to us, please.
Agreed. Let's scoot over to the Mass Awakening one that I have. There's some fairly good stuff on this guy.
Perfect. I'm here.
Now, we're going to start with Martin Paul, a PhD, an expert of human effects of RF radiation, warns that humanity is approaching extinction due to infertility with the level of radiation we're exposed to these days. He goes on to state, DNA damage known to be produced by these EMFs occur in human sperm and may also occur in human eggs, leading to large increases in mutation in any children born. It is thought that an increase in mutation frequency of 2.5 to 3-fold will lead to extinction because of accumulation of large numbers of damaging mutations. We may already be over this level, and if so, simply continuing our current exposure will lead to eventual extinction. Further increases in exposure will be more rapidly self-destruction. So a worst case scenario is, basically human extinction. This goes along with Agenda 21/Agenda 30, where they are dealing with population control.
Right. And you'll have to, I've never heard of Agenda 21, something that you might have to elaborate on just a little bit for me.
Agenda 21 and Agenda 30 are agendas set up by the United Nations, and they're basically a goal, by Agenda 30, for example, is what Agenda 21 transformed into, and it basically says by the year 2030, we want to have, X, Y, and Z in place.
Right.
And that's just a basic overview. We'll definitely have to have a show on that because it is hugely in-depth and very, very scary.
And just a quick, where did you find the information on Agenda 30 and Agenda 21? Is that something
you can literally find them from the United Nations? They're United Nations documents. It's not like it's a conspiracy group here together. It's actual United Nations documents.
Wonderful. Okay. I mean, now.
But like I said, that topic is so in depth that we'll need a whole show on itself.
Right. I just wanted to touch on it just a second, because I've never heard of that before, and I might not be the only one. So,
but the rest of the Mass Awakening article is worth going on. But the main one I want to focus on here is, which is going to be the last article. It deals from the Global Research website, because you gotta love scientists. They're going to list 5G danger. 13 reasons 5G wireless technology will be a catastrophe for humanity.
Okay, I'm there.
And we'll just go through all 13 of them. The first one is 5G danger, hijacking your sweat duct antenna, which we've already discussed, so we won't go too in-depth into that one.
Right.
The second one is it says 5G amplifies EMF damage via VGCCs, where it says wireless radiation and EMF scientist Dr. Martin Paul has done groundbreaking research in explaining exactly how electromagnetic frequencies cause premature aging and injury to the human body, including damage to fertility, brains, hearts, and even DNA. He pioneered research showing how electromagnetic frequencies activate the body's voltage-gated calcium channels, which causes them to release excess calcium ions into the cell. This then leads to nitric oxide and superoxide, which react nearly instantaneously to form peroxynitrite and free radicals, which free radicals is a great subject in itself, but the free radicals destroy your DNA. Many studies like this show peroxynitrate damages DNA. Dr. Paul has stated unequivocally that the 5G rollout is absolutely insane. So you gotta love it being supported by, people who have knowledge in the field, and not just some random person saying, "Hey, man, this is bad."
And there's actually a, when you click that little link with it, sends you to Dr. Martin Paul video where he is obviously discussing it. So I may link this, I may listen to it a little later, and I might possibly be linking this for you guys. But if I don't link it, here's how you can find it out. Dr. Martin Paul to the NIH. If you're familiar with the NIH stands for, the 5G rollout is absolutely insane. So if you don't see me post it,
NIH is the National Institute of Health.
Perfect. So if you don't see me post it,
so yeah, go ahead and post it. And for those that are not too familiar with this type of technology or these types of acronyms, it will be a great eye-opener, and hopefully will increase some of your awareness.
wonderful.
You got any questions before we move to number 3?
No.
All right, number 3, pulse wave, far more damaging than continuous wave radiation. A significant and unique feature of smart meters is that they emit pulse wave radiation, not continuous wave radiation. In other words, they run in start-stop cycles of emitting a burst of electromagnetic frequency, then going temporarily inactive. This happens at an incredibly high amount of times per day. Court documents with testimony from utility companies reveal that smart meters send pulse waves between 9,600 and 190,000 times per day.
Wow.
Dr. Paul goes ahead and he shows, how these pulse waves are, how they're activated, and basically how dangerous they are.
Right.
Which, on that, there's also several videos on there that talk about the illegality of having a smart meter, because the smart meters don't have I believe it was some type of surge protector inside, so they actually pose a fire hazard. Because you've heard lots of people who've had their 5G meters broken or have caught flame. That is why. But for those that know that requirement is there, you can actually go to your electric company and be like, "Hey, this doesn't have it, take it off," and you can fight to get a dumb meter back, like the old school ones where they actually have to come out and read them and they can't just sit over there.
Right.
So, number 4, 5G promotes deep electromagnetic frequency penetration. The main reason why cell or mobile phones are more dangerous for children than adults, apart from the fact that radiation absorption is cumulative over a lifetime, is due to EMF penetration. And if you look at that little graph right there, you'll just see, man, how much more it gets into a younger, the youth as in comparison to adults. And I believe this has a correlation to why you're seeing much more children develop like brain cancers and tumors, or having apoplexy happen. I believe it's a direct correlation to this EMF radiation that we are being given to.
Right. Well, it doesn't take a scientist to see that these graphs showed that not only us as adults are getting damaged, but the younger you are, look at that. That's insane amount of heat. Well, that's what I assume that is. It's just the radiation coming in the brainwave. That is,
Yeah, and people wonder why I always put my phone on speakerphone and won't talk into it.
Right.
And then Dr. Paul specifically writes on these images, the industry has also made claims that more conventional microwave frequency EMFs are limited in effect to the outer 1 centimeter of the body. We know that is not true, however, because of the effects deep in the human brain, on the heart, and on the hormone systems. Perhaps the most important 2 studies demonstrating effects deep within the body are the studies of Professor Hassi and his colleagues in Switzerland on cataract formation in newborn calves. These two studies clearly show that when pregnant cows are gazing near mobile phone-based stations, also called cell phone towers, the calves are born with very greatly increased incidences of cataracts. Haseeg wrote in his 2009 study that 32% of these 253 calves had various degrees of nuclear cataract, but only 9% of the calves had severe nuclear cataract. So you're looking at, 41% had a cataract reaction, whether it was normal or severe, which that's a pretty significant number there.
Right, and I've never heard of this study, and I feel like we should probably know about this stuff. And that's pretty big. I mean, it'd be one thing if it was showing up 1% of the calves were showing cataracts in some way, but it's an extravagant number. In fact,
it's true, and that's what we're here for with the Truth Inside, to basically help expand people's awareness, to let them know some of these studies that you're never going to see on the lamestream media.
The lamestream media, I like that.
Indeed. So, from there, we'll just go ahead to number 5, because that's what we're here for. Let's continue this awareness, where they talk about 5G as a weapon system disguised as a consumer convenience. Mark Steele is very outspoken about this. We've talked about this earlier in the show, just by what operating range the gigahertz are of these. So I'm not going to repeat this one too much, but if anyone wants to go into detail, Mark basically sums it up as 5G is a weapon system, nothing more, nothing less. It's got nothing to do with telecommunications for humans. 5G is a machine-to-machine connections for autonomous vehicles. So that basically sums that one up.
Yep.
Any questions at this point, sir?
No, sir.
All right, let's go to number 6. Like I said earlier, the local places have been installed, and some places are fighting back. Here it says, LA firefighters develop ailments after being too close to towers. It says in this video, which people can link to, a 25-year veteran firefighter from Los Angeles compares cell towers to cigarettes. He calls for a stop to the cell mobile phone-based stations being built on or near fire stations. Firefighters are not the only ones suffering the effect. It was reported that hundreds of birds fell from the sky in the Netherlands during a 5G test. So this is just more and more evidence where people being exposed right next to these 5G towers are having adverse health effects.
Real quick, if you don't mind, that has a link to the hundred of birds, and it has a video. I'm gonna see real quick if that has any. Yeah, oh my goodness, you can see it all. They are falling. It literally just showed hundreds of birds falling from the sky.
Yeah, so for those interested in seeing this, what this link is in our description, I believe.
Right.
And just go ahead and click it and go ahead and watch it. It's very, very interesting. At the end of this video, we also have one on pigeons from, it sounds like the guy is in the United Kingdom somewhere, where he's going up and he has, we'll see that video after this one, because that's all that we're going to have left is a couple of videos after we finish these 13 dangers.
Right.
All right, number 7 over here.
Okay.
Number 7 is same frequencies as used for crowd dispersal, which was previously mentioned with the active denial system. Number 8 is mutagenic, causing DNA damage, and carcinogenic, causing cancer. They talk about these the MMW frequencies of 5G cause mitochondrial DNA damage, which is then passed down generations. 5G is mutagenic. These mutations are inherited by the next generation. This has grave implications for genetic purity. How many people are thinking about this when they can't stop looking at their screens? This website lists many studies showing the mitochondrial damage that occurs after exposure to EMF radiation. So basically, in other words, you're going to have a lot of damage to your DNA. You're going to be able to cause cancer. Very, very, very interesting. And at the end, it says that it's important to note, however, that the World Health Organization is an agency of the United Nations which was set up by the Rockefellers, an illustrious New World Order Illuminati family who plans to use the UN as a vehicle to usher in a one world government. And that's where we can definitely get into discussion about Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030.
Right.
Number 9, phased array desensification. 5G requires significantly more transmitters or broadcasters Then earlier generations, like I was discussing, these things are going to need to be set up anywhere from 100 to 300 meters apart. And that's just the way the waves travel, because they are short waves. They don't have a long distance capability as you have, with your AM or FM frequency waves on the radio. And that's all from that one. Number 10, killing all the insects. We will discuss this further as we have a video of bees being in close relation to 5G towers, which we definitely don't want the bees to go. There's a lot of information that says out there if the bees become extinct, humanity and most of the world will go.
And I'm sorry. I know I'm distracted right now. I'm just blown away by the amount of information. This is my first time receiving it. I mean, not that I didn't know 5G was bad, but a lot of the details were missing in my knowledge. And it's mind-blowing that we're even considering such a thing.
I hear you, man. Well, it's even more crazy. They took down the actual video when the FCC came out and discussed it. And I looked for probably 2 hours today trying to find that one specific video and absolutely couldn't. But there's breakdowns on they talk about exactly everything that we're talking about, that there are dangers, that it operates on a military grade, that it's going to be used for things such as mind control. And it's interesting to think about, but it's definitely good to be aware of because, like I said, you can combat these things with some type of gemstones. They're certain arrays that they can't pass through certain thicknesses of walls. So there are some defenses to it.
And let's not forget that the FCC's chairman here, Ajit Pai, or Pai, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, also the leading man in net neutrality and how he can basically control the speed. So right now with 5G, we're going to give you speeds, and then net neutrality, we're going to control which sites go this fast so that you can't get the information so easily.
It's true. It's definitely a war for the mind, and that's why it's good to have not only looking at sites, like we've looked at several military sources, we've looked at the White House sources, and we've even looked at, PhD doctor sources, and even the military ones that they say, hey man, this is dangerous, as we saw from the Navy document from 1972, 73?
1972 was that document.
All right. So it's definitely there. Number 11 on our list here is 5G and the space-based 5G dangers. The quote at the end says, at least 5 companies are proposing to provide 5G from space from a combined 20,000 satellites in low and medium Earth orbit that will blanket the Earth with powerful, focused, steerable beams. Each satellite will emit millimeter waves, which is that MMW waves, with an effective radiated power of up to 5 million watts from thousands of antennae arranged in a phased array.
Wow.
Ooh.
That is.
And this is what we're dealing with. They further say it is vital to understand the bigger picture of the grand conspiracy here. All of these disruptive and hazardous technologies, 5G, Wi-Fi, wireless radiation, HAARP, ionospheric heating, which that basically deals with weather modification, geoengineering, GMOs, etc., are going to be woven into one giant integrated system of surveillance, command, and control. Just as one small example, geoengineering involves the spraying of chemtrails loaded with metal particulates, which 5G can use. This is also the same basis for weather modification weaponry.
Amazing.
You got all that, sir?
I'm absorbing it in. Yes.
Hey, am I just blowing your mind away tonight?
I'm tell you what. I'm ordering one of those pendants very quickly.
That's good. That's good. And just to go ahead, people may be wondering, is weather modification even real? The United Kingdom admitted to weather modification in 1953. We admitted it shortly after that. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that talks about what our capabilities are. And it's dealing with putting certain ions in the ionosphere. Which we'll save that in-depth rabbit hole for another day. Going on to number 12. Re-radiation inside the body. The quote here at the end is, When extremely short electromagnetic pulses enter the body, something else happens. The moving charges themselves become little antennae that radiate the electromagnetic field and send it deeper into the body. These re-radiated waves are called Boolean precursors. They become significant when either the power or the phase of these wave changes rapidly enough. This means that the reassurance we are being given that these military waves are too short to penetrate far into the body is not true. So basically, this is just proving what we saw in that video from the military where they say, hey, nothing's going to harm us, even though, the Navy says it's going to harm us and all these scientists say it's going to harm us.
Right.
And the last one. Insurance companies refuse to underwrite big wireless. What do they know? Insurance companies, the most famous of which is Lloyd's of London, have made headlines by refusing to insure big wireless against Wi-Fi and 5G related illnesses and claims. Well, Lloyd's November 2010 risk assessment team's report gives us a solid clue. The report compares these wireless technologies with asbestos, in that the early research on asbestos was inconclusive, and only later did it become obvious to anyone paying attention that asbestos causes cancer. Keep in mind that Lloyd's risk assessment study of Wi-Fi was published over 8 years ago. Even back then, however, the risk assessment team was smart enough to realize that new evidence just might emerge showing that the various Wi-Fi frequencies do cause illness, which that alone is significant. Because if you're saying, hey, we're not going to insure this, you're basically saying, whoa, it's a bad bet if we insure this because we're going to get sued and we're going to have to cover that loss for you guys.
Right, right. So not only once 5G is installed are we going to start receiving illnesses if we're not protecting ourselves correctly, we won't have any way of getting help without paying straight out of pocket. And by the sound of what's going to happen, you could possibly be looking at some serious medical bills on just to survive 5G.
It is true. And now, the best weapon, or I would say the best way to combat 5G is if you see 5G coming into your community and you are truly concerned, go to your city hall. Tell them, we don't want this. Bring up the studies that we have shown you and be like, hey, do you want to hurt our children? Do you want to hurt yourself? Because, that's basically who's going to decide. These mayors, these the city council group. And if active citizens can go to your cities, if you know you're getting 5G, and, hey, argue it. Be like, hey, this is the other side. Because if no one in the community goes, they're just going to get what they're told. Yeah, they're going to get faster connections. You're probably going to get governmental grants to get it installed. But that's where the citizens got to be active. You got to go to your own communities and say, hey, I do not want this. And get a group of people. And if there's enough citizens that are active in a city hall meeting, guess what? Your city hall people are not going to do it in, are not going to put it in. For one simple reason. If they're putting something in that the voters don't want, they're not going to keep their office.
Right.
So keep that in mind. And that is your best chance currently to keep 5G out of your local community.
Now is not the time to just know the information anymore. We've got to start standing up, or we will. I have young children. I have to stand up now for them, for their sake.
Absolutely. You don't want them to be given all of these radio. What am I thinking? Not radio. These frequency health hazards that are being produced. It's just no bueno.
Exactly, and everyone wants to be an activist and go change the world, but you've got to start in your city. Start out your back door. Change around you. The more cities that are refusing it will make noise on the bigger scale. But we've got to have the cities that are small that are implementing this to stand up and say no and be heard. And
it's true. And as soon as, like I said, we've seen some communities in California do it, and that's what we need to use as an example. If they can do it in California, we can do it in the 4 states. We can do it up on either coast, down south, up in the Yooper, wherever it is needed. And we can ensure that this world is going to be directed by the people and not by those that are trying to control the people.
And it's just, we as truth seekers, as people that want this to change, we have to do this, or it's over. We lose because we're not standing up. And it doesn't matter how outnumbered we are to what we like to refer as sheeple, doesn't matter. As long as voices are starting to speak up, we've got to do something, and we're running out of time with this stuff. It's either do something now, start now, or this stuff will be in your backyard, and you will see the effects yourself. Your children will see the effects. It it's something that we can stop, but it's going to take all of us. Me and Michael here can't just do it. It takes everyone standing with us. Our viewers, other people that we need
Agreed.
to share the information.
The world to come together as one, for sure.
Right, in the right way. Not come together as one under the mind control and the 5G blast wave that they'll send out to turn us all on into their drones, and then we stand as one. One way or the other, we're going to stand as one, and we either do it the right way, or we get told to stand as one for our government, for them. So that's my little rant for the day.
You ran it. I like it. I like it, because we do got to come together. Let's go ahead and let me exit out of that. Let's play. You can play the pigeon video, or you can play the. Hey, actually, you showed some of the other bird video, right?
Yeah. It was really short. That one's
already been leaked.
I'm gonna share.
Let's go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
It was only a few seconds in that video, so I'm actually not gonna link it, but I'll show clips of both and link them so you can get the full experience of the video and see for yourself.
All right. And for the last part of this show, let's go ahead and play the bee video so we can see. This comes from a local citizen out in California, and he was just showing some bees around these 5G towers, and they're not looking that lively.
Yeah, I've got it playing right now.
Yeah, you can go ahead and mute it. There's nothing too much in there. He just kind of shows it and walks around. He doesn't talk too much in the video.
My goodness.
But if you see anything, feel free to point it out. He's just showing all these dead bees that are around. You also have those other videos which show pigeons and other birds that are being taken out by these frequencies. So if whole animals are being killed, just think of what it does to you.
Right. If someone wants to count how many bees he's shown so far, feel free.
There's a lot of them, huh?
There's enough to make it absolutely worrisome.
Have no worry, though. The light will triumph when it's all over.
Yes, I was thinking as we were talking about this stuff, I'm gonna also be posting links. I'll make sure I find the. I'll work here with Michael to post links to that pendant. I can't remember the name of the rock. What is it called again?
Tourmaline.
Tourmaline. I'll be posting links just to stuff that can help you, and maybe somewhere down the line we can do an entire video or podcast based around how to protect yourself from frequencies and other ways that they are trying to get in and attack us.
Indeed, that sounds like a good idea. And in the future, we were supposed to have a guest speaker tonight, but he had some unavoidable circumstances and wasn't able to make it. But we will bring him back when he is available. He actually has worked on these towers, and he was going to kind of explain some of the actual stories of, how he felt, the effects that he had while he was working on the towers.
Right. And this bee video, I mean, you cannot walk away from this feeling okay that these are going to be installed. There's a countless number of bees. I mean, he's panning back and forth. Bless him, he needs a stabilizer for his camera, but you can see the bees everywhere, all over the ground. Look at them. And
I know. Every time I see some bees like that, I'm just like, man, I got to get me another hive. I have 2 hives going right now. And I'm going to do what I can to keep on expanding them because that bee population has got to get built because I plan on living on this planet for a heck of a long time.
A lot longer than this is going to do. I am going to go ahead and pull up the 5G towers, up close pigeons dying on roof and stairways video as well, as we close and talk about our bonus content.
Indeed.
Tonight's bonus content, I was going to ask you what you thought. I didn't know if we were either going to continue the
Oh yeah, definitely going to complete that list of
Yes.
11 through 20 because that's just interesting and it's good to learn about some people that have been forgotten about history who were really close to the Clintons. For those who haven't seen any of our bonus content, feel free to join us on Patreon and Twitch. Is that correct? Those are the two where our bonus content are going.
Right now it's just Patreon. Basically,
All right,
if you subscribe to us through Twitch, send me an email and with your username, and I'll confirm that you're subscribed, and I will be sending you the links or giving you access to them in some way or form. It is quite interesting. Some of the stuff that we've been talking about last night is the Hillary Clinton's basically list of murders, and we're confirming names on there. We're matching up stories.
Right. And the list basically entails it's about 47 people who have been really close to the Clintons and have died mysteriously or on some crazy circumstances. Like there was like 3 people who died of suicides but had multiple gunshot wounds to the head.
My goodness, those poor birds. 2 giant bags full.
You saw the bags?
Yep.
Yep. And just think, if it's doing that to nature, I mean, we're nature. We're not robots. Well, how's it going to affect us?
Right. They may be small, and it may take less time for them, but in the long run, it hits us too. And I don't think it's going to be that long of a run. I mean, I felt it instantly, on a personal level, and some people may be around it themselves right now, where they're at. And like I said, I'll be posting some links for yourself to protect yourself, and I've heard good results from tremoline pendants that immediately feel a difference without these EMF emitters hitting you. So
Yes. And if you are wearing tourmaline or other stones, keep in mind that they have to be recharged. They can be recharged by setting them in the sun for 24 hours. You can do a moon charge going from new moon to full moon. You can run water over them. You can ding a bell over them, and you can even use incense to purify them.
my personal way of doing things with cleansing my rocks and recharging them is I running water over them and kind of picturing it as a waterfall running over. I then set them in water and set them in the outside for the 24 hours.
Heck yeah, you're supercharging them. That will work.
It's kind of a crazy deal when you feel when you pick back up the rocks. If you
No, wait till you get a hold of that moldavite and you can't even wear it because it's so strong.
Don't get me started on that. I've been trying to push that back because right now it's not possible for me to get a hold of one in this moment, and I've been adapted to instant gratification. So.
I hear you. So, do you have any other questions or anything, or are we gonna wrap up the show?
I think at this point we're ready to wrap up the show. Doesn't seem to be any questions that I've seen. If you guys need anything, please feel free to email us. We'll answer any of your questions directly for now, and we'll try to help as best we can. You guys have you guys have a great one. We're going to be continuing on with our bonus content, which will be posted later in the night after we get done recording. I post them immediately for our Patreons. So give us about 30 minutes to an hour or so, and the Patreons will be receiving another bonus content video.
Indeed. Everyone have an excellent evening. Much love. And the Truth Inside is reminding you to be a service to others.
Right. And before we go, I think that we're coming back Wednesday at 8/14/2019 at around 9 o'clock. And what is tomorrow night's discussion? Do we have an idea?
Tomorrow night is going to be the Sandy Hook one that you've been wanting to have, sir.
Yes. We'll be starting with the Sandy Hook shooting, the conspiracy on that, and we'll be talking to you guys then. Have a great night.